Welcome to Infinity and Beyond, a podcast that takes a look back at the works of Pixar animation before moving onward to their newest films. It pains me to admit it, but today we reached the pinnacle. So early in our Pixar journey, we found the best film they, or perhaps anyone, could ever aspire to make. Cars 2, ladies and gentlemen. That was sarcasm.
It's the second time you claimed that this is the best movie. Maybe more than that. Last episode you said it was going to be hella lit, and Jaren said it was going to be, fun and fresh? And I'm taking that as pure fact. Therefore, you have stated your side on this argument. It's great.
I love Avery so much.
All right, who the gosh darn heck are we?
I'm Daniel Hudson.
I'm Jaren Gravely.
I'm Nora Jones, and guest starring is
Avery Games. Hi.
Hello.
Tell us a bit about yourself, stranger.
I think Nora liked to sum up my personality with Nora. Yeah. How about you go ahead and just sum up my being, because I really like your description.
I'll do what I did for Daniel before we started recording. This is my friend Avery. She is in my class. She likes theater and she loves Batman and she's great. Also, she's really good at dancing. But Daniel said that fits into the theater category, which he's not wrong. So that's that. Oh, and she knows Jaren. She met Daniel 5 minutes ago.
Not even.
And she's ready to fight for Cars.
Yeah, we've done some shows together.
Yeah, for half my life, Jaren. I've known you for about half my life.
That's insane.
Also, sorry that you couldn't attend the podcast, but I saw him earlier tonight because we were making a gingerbread house.
Lovely.
And he wanted me to say on his behalf that based off the first Cars podcast, that all of your opinions are garbage.
Yeah, I would like to let you all know that you've all disappointed my father. I'm just saying.
Because Cars is his favorite movie.
So
that's
he
why I wanted him on here.
He even disagrees with my opinion that the ending is good? Wow.
Okay, listen. He agrees. You know what I mean, Daniel. He disagrees with all the trash talking we did.
Okay.
No, Daniel just thinks very, very backwards. That's exactly what. You're right, Daniel. Continue.
Okay, so, like the intro said, today is our Cars 2 episode. We have been hyping this one up since probably the very first episode of the podcast.
More than likely, yeah.
I seem to remember Jaren saying we're not going to have any bad things to say until we get to Cars 2.
And here we are in the future. Here we are in the future.
Flashback to the first Cars.
If only you had me on for Bug's Life.
I can't believe we've come so far.
Here we are in the future. Here we are.
Thank you.
Okay.
I love that show so much.
So do I.
Anyway, okay, so for the synopsis of this movie, because it's my turn.
It is your turn.
I want you to know, I wrote this synopsis 5 minutes ago, and it's bullet points, and it started really detailed, and then it got really bad, and it, Nora tradition isn't going to be good. Also, I am so bad at names, so bad. So please.
There are too many characters in this movie with changing names.
Yeah, please jump in if you want to say the name. Also, disclaimer: I have totally changed my opinion about Cars, and the first Cars podcast, I dissed on it a lot. I went back and watched it because I had just started doing podcasts with y'all then, and I didn't watch it before I reviewed, which I said, but I didn't. And I really, really liked Cars. It's still not in my top 5, but I really liked it. And guess what? I liked it better than WALL-E. So that's where I stand on that. Anyway.
Head in my hands.
Now that I think Jaren and Daniel hate me, let's do the synopsis. Okay, so we start with a weird spy sequence, which initially made me hate the movie because it has no business being in the Cars franchise. But
we'll get into that.
But there is a spy car that I don't know his name, and he's spying.
Nick Missile.
That guy. He's spying, and he does all this cool sequence trick stuff, and basically he finds out that the bad guys have this weapon called camera, and that they killed another English spy car that found it, and he makes a daring escape, and it's cool, there's explosions, etc. Don't know what it has to do with cars until you get later into the movie. Then you focus on our little town of Radiator Springs, and there's Mater. He's towing a car. He's saying how he misses Lightning McQueen. And then guess what? Lightning McQueen is back. And there he is. And Mater has all this fun stuff planned. They kind of do their normal stuff. Lightning McQueen seems to be having an average to mediocre to not as good of a time, but is like pretending to. But that's something I will talk about later.
We've been there, all of us.
And then they do fun stuff, and then Mater's like, well, I've got stuff planned for tonight. And Lightning McQueen is, no, you don't. I want to go hang out with my girlfriend. So he goes in.
What's that?
His girlfriend, Sally.
Same.
And Mater pretends to be a waiter to Mater the waiter. Mater the waiter.
You made that exact same joke in the movie. I hope you know.
Yeah, I was about to say.
But he waits on them, and they're having din until the TV is on, and you see Francesco, the race car. Don't know his last name. She couldn't tell from that noise. And he has open wheels, and he is talking about the world race that's happening with, is it all in all oil?
Yep.
Yes.
All in all oil, which is supposed to be some electric energy saving oil that
alternative fuel
that takes away from regular gasoline. And this rich guy bought all of it and is going to use all the
Miles Axelrod.
That guy is going to use world class racers up on the all in all of the fuel, and to prove that it's amazing. And all the world-class racers are racing, but Lightning McQueen isn't. And Francesco's like, he's a pansy. He's not racing, and I'm better than him. And so Mater hears this, makes a phone call onto the television so everyone hears his voice, and he's basically says, your opinion is trash. And tells him that Lightning McQueen is the best racer. Of course, Mater is a little on the slower side and doesn't get when Francesco is mean to him. But Lightning steps in, is like, I don't appreciate you talking to my friend like that. Shows him up. Francesco gets mad and then says, yeah, I'll race. Let's do this. And so, fast forward to Japan. They're in Japan, right?
Tokyo.
To Tokyo. And they're in Tokyo. And because the race is about to happen, people are mean, shaking hands, rubbing elbows. Lightning meets the main Alan, the little guy. Mater is making a big embarrassment of himself for Lightning, and Lightning's like, hey, can you not? Thank you. My favorite scene that is the only, literally the only scene I could remember from this movie before watching it, where Mater eats the wasabi and thinks it's ice cream.
I was in pain watching that.
Yes.
That is the only scene I remembered, and I should point that out. And they go up on stage. Mater sees the guy that's in charge of the all in all blah 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 stuff, and Mater's because we'll come back later, oil starts leaking because he's excited, but it's not really that. Anyway, and I remembered that once I saw that part. But anyway, that happens. And Lightning's like, get a hold of yourself. And Mater's like, I'm sorry, I don't leak. And so then he's running to the bathroom. He's like, I never leak. And the spy stuff comes back. Because that guy that got the picture of the camera thing is there to pass it off to someone else. Wait, no, he's not there. Okay, this is where I get confused. The spies are there. but it's a different British guy spy and a purple car spy. And I know their main characters in the film, but I don't know their names.
Finn McMissile and Holly, I don't remember her last name. Starts with an S.
Finn McMissile?
Finn, like the fish.
Finn?
Finn.
Fin?
2 N's, but yes.
Finn and Holly are there. Holly is the technical science. She's not a field agent, but she's there. And I can't remember. They're just there. They're getting information. It doesn't matter. Just know they're there. And the bathroom trade-off is where, because they're supposed to be there to trade with an American spy who was also at the original spy scene. They got a closer up photo of the car who's making the camera and all this evil stuff. So the Holly and Finn are trying to trade off with him, but the American spy gets tangled up with the bad spies in the bathroom, and Mater goes in there because his oil leaked, and the American spy passes it off to Mater. So then the two main spies think Mater's the American spy, and Holly's like, we'll make a different arrangement to go trade off our stuff. And so Mater's like, it's a date. And so they have a date. Well, not yet, but they're like a date. And so to trade off the stuff. Anyway, that was a really bad explanation. Fast forward. Now we're at the race. Oh, I lost my spot. Oh, wait. No. Oh, no. Okay. Wasabi scene, oil leak, spy mix up in bathroom. OG spy. Okay. Fast forward. The original spy gets killed in a very traumatic little side scene. And then the bad guys find out that Mater has the information. That's all you need to know. They kill the guy. But okay, now we're at the race. And at the race, the queen loses because Mater's on the headphones and Holly interferes with the headphones because she's like, we need to meet and get the stuff. But then she sees the bad guys coming. She's like, get out. And so Mater is getting out and he's talking to Holly, but it's also going to McQueen. McQueen hears, go outside. So he goes in the outside lane and he loses. And you're like, oh no. And then there's this whole karate scene. But basically after that, they're like, we'll have to meet up at a different time for our trade-off. And they're like, okay. And so then Mater gets with McQueen. McQueen's like, you made me lose the race. And Mater's like, what? And then there's confusion. He tries to explain they saw karate. And McQueen's like, you're an idiot. Please stop talking to me. And so then Mater leaves and leaves this note that has a bunch of pee-pee jokes on it. And while he's leaving at the airport, he gets caught. Finn finds him. And Finn's like, this is some spy catchphrase. It's like, I have an alternate ride for you. And they bust out the window because the bad guys are chasing them. And after this whole chase sequence, get on a plane. And Finn's like, okay, let's see photos and stuff. And they get the photo passed off to him. And because Holly and Finn still think he's a spy. And so then they are looking at the photo. And it's just this old busted up engine. Mater actually knows about engine stuff because he's a tow truck and explains some of it. And they're like, well, what can we get out of this photo? And Mater's like, well, look at those bolts in the corner of the photo that Finn says he never would have noticed, but is clearly a very obvious thing in the photo. And then it leads them to look up something. It's a revolution of some kind. I don't know. But basically, they get Mater on board for the spy stuff because Mater's like, oh, I'm not a spy, I'm just a tow truck. And they're like, yeah, and she's just a real estate agent or some kind of something like that. I don't know. And so Mater is a spy now. And from the lead they got, they know this guy to go ask about the parts that were in the photo. So they go to this market where I think there's a really racist joke moment there, but maybe that was just me. We'll talk about that later. And they get the guy, and the guy knows Finn. He's not like a bad guy, but it didn't really make sense because, I mean, if you knew him, why didn't they just like meet? But anyway, they get the guy, and the guy talks, oh yeah, I know those parts, I sold them to my most popular client. And they're like, well, who's that? He's like, I don't know, he only talks to me over the phone. And the audience is like, well, great, we have to keep going. And so then somehow it leads, this is where my details aren't as strong, it leads to, let's look back at the recordings for the people at that race or whatever, and they see a suspicious tow truck towing a car that's perfectly fine away, and they're like, that's the guy. And then it's a tow truck, so we can make Mater look like him. And so then they dress him up as a tow truck, and there's this whole disguise sequence, and there's a whole part where Radar's like, oh, I don't know if I can do this. And then Finn's like, yeah, you can. Just keep doing the genius dumb tow truck thing you do where you play stupid. Everyone's laughing at the fool, so no one notices that the fool is playing them, which is meant to be a compliment. But guess what? That's actually how Mater is. So Mater feels bad. And then he thinks back onto all the stuff he did to Lightning and how it might have embarrassed him. Also, during all of this, there was like multiple scenes that aren't relevant to the spy stuff about how Lightning feels bad about what he did to McQueen. There was this whole scene while they were racing in Italy, because by the way, this is around the world and they've been going around the world while doing this. Sorry. And they were in Italy, and Lightning and the little Italian cars that are in the original movie are like in Italy. And yeah. Or I don't know if we're even there yet, but
I think we are.
Lightning feels bad. So, gosh. Oh, that was my next note. That must be next. McQueen feels bad. Okay. Then, oh, that was right before this. And then they have the disguise, and then the race starts. And so McQueen is racing, and he feels bad. And the Lightning's dressed up as the tow truck. This whole thing happens. He's playing the tow truck well. Finn's like, wow, he's so smart. He's doing so good. And Mater's like, just kidding. I don't know what I'm doing. But he's playing it well. He gets in there, and then there's a conference meeting because that's why he's dressed up, because they knew there was going to be a conference meeting. And they're figuring out that it is the lesser cars that aren't the sports cars that are teaming up to do this. And this is going to make me sound like I didn't watch the movie, but what the frick is a lemon? They kept saying lemon. Is that like a smaller car?
It's like a term for like a bad car.
Okay, well that made no sense to me.
Oh.
But the lemons were the cars that are lesser, all meeting up, and they're realizing that. And so then there's this conference call, and it's like the same picture in the conference. In the conference, there's a conference call from the head big boss man, but he has like all no secret scary voice over the monitor, and it's all you see in the conference call is the same picture of the bad engine with all the parts, and the guy's talking, he's like, sorry, I couldn't be there. And we're all like, well, of course you couldn't be there, then we know who you are. But so he's talking, and they're saying that after all in all fuel, oh, I forgot a really important, after all in all fuel is derailed, because after these races, because I forgot a whole part. The camera, that camera thing from the beginning, I'm doing so bad, y'all. I'm so sorry.
It's just that this movie is really convoluted.
That camera thing from the beginning, the all in all fuel makes it has like a high charge or whatever. So whenever you point the camera at it and like turn it up all the way, it basically makes the car like explode or like blow its tires. But I think you can make it explode because that's how they killed the spy guy earlier in that scene I was talking about. So what they've been doing throughout the races is that they shoot the racers and their racers' tires blow, and everyone's like, wow, all in all is bad, like really, really bad, guys. We should never use alternate fuel. We should just only use gasoline. And the lemons are in charge of the gasoline, and they want to get rich, which I don't get why, like, that's such a bad thing. Like, is it bad to use gasoline? Like, why is that awful? Like, I know
it's the environment.
Oh, yeah. Okay, gotcha. See, I'm an idiot, and that makes more sense now.
You are not.
But they oh, that's their evil mastermind plan that we find out, is that they are going to continue to blow up the racers with all in all fuel to prove that gasoline should only be used, and it happens twice. And the lead guy, the guy that invented all in all, he's on the news and he's like, yeah, I guess I can't consciously allow the racers to keep using this throughout the race, even though that's like the whole intention of his race. And they can use whatever fuel they want. And Lightning goes on the air and says, I will keep using all in all fuel because I trust my team, and I didn't trust a friend recently, Vader. So I'm going to trust my team because his hippie dude on the team from the first movie, whose name I also don't know, Fillmore, said that, oh, don't worry, dude, the oil is fun and fresh, and it's fine. And so Lightning's like, hey, okay, let's go with that. So then the Lemons hear this, and they're like, oh, okay, well, we have to kill Lightning McQueen. And so Mater's like, no! And his cover gets, his cover gets blown. And then they're shooting him. And then, well, they find him. And I think Mater passes around. I don't know. They catch him. Wait, no, this isn't when they catch him. Sorry, cough attack. Okay. So Lightning is saying this. So McQueen is running towards Lightning. Mater gets caught. Basically, it doesn't matter. Mater gets caught. And Lightning is going on to his race. They end up in London because that's where the next race is. By the way, they also don't know where Mater is. So they're like Lightning and his team. They find out, oh, he's not at Radiator Springs. So they get concerned. And now Mater is stuck in the tower, Big Ben, but it's not called Big Ben in the movie.
Yeah, it's Big Bentley because it's a British car.
Big Bentley. This is a really long explanation. I'm so sorry. Anyway,
they love their car puns.
Mater, oh my gosh, stop it, throat. Mater is in Big Bentley and is like tied up and being ready to be crushed by clock gears. And Finn and Holly are there too, and they're also getting ready to be crushed by clock gears. And the evil scientists have the gun to shoot at Lightning. Doesn't work, and so they go to the alternate plan of putting a bomb on Lightning. Everyone escapes. That's all you need to know. They just escape. Mater gets there. Then he finds out he's the bomb. He has the bomb on him. So he starts running away from Lightning because Lightning is trying to apologize and saying, you are the bomb, Mater. You're right. And Mater's like, no, I literally am the bomb. And Mater does his world-class driving backwards sequence. And and so then they get to the Queen of England because they're in England and she's watching the race, and he still has the bomb on him, and Lightning sees that there's a bomb. There's a bunch of stuff I just skipped, but it once again does not matter. It's a whole sequence. Just know they end up with the Queen of England over there, and so everyone sees Mater's bomb, and they're like, run! And the Queen's like, no, I want to stay. And you're like, oh, okay. And I want to see how this plays out. Okay, you're gonna die, but it's fine. And everyone runs away from the Queen, but it's fine. And because Mater says, I know who did it. And everyone's like, oh, because they see his bomb. And he's like, it's that guy. And he points to the guy that made all in all, that started the race. And they're like, what? And he says some whole thing. I don't even remember how he knew it was him other than the oil leaking thing. That basically he made all in all so that he basically exposes the plan that we said earlier, all in all, so they could be rich, so that gasoline would work. And they're like, that's ridiculous. How would it happen? But anyway, they're waiting for the deactivation code for the bomb. So it's like 3, 2, 1. And then the guy yells, deactivate. And it deactivates. So they know it's him. And then they open his hood and you see that it's that car guy in the photo. And they're like, yay, wow. And so then they're back in Radiator Springs. Oh, wait, now I'm getting the first movie mixed up with the second one because I also watched the first one today. They go back to Radiator Springs, right?
Yeah, they do in the end, yeah.
Yeah, they go back to Radiator Springs and
they have a race, I think.
They have a race. Who races? Wow, all I can remember is the ending to the first movie now.
They go back and Mater's telling his whole story, and then it's, Holly shows up.
Yeah. Okay, Mater is telling his whole story to all the visitors, and they're like, that's ridiculous. Then Holly swoops in, and she's like, Holly, I'm Mater's girlfriend. And they're like, oh. And so then...
and I would appear in the third movie.
And she has a dent, and she's like, no, I want to keep my dent because Mater said that dents are important. And they offer him to be a permanent spy, and he's like, no, I'm good. I've got Radiator Springs and Lightning McQueen, and I'm EpIsOdE, and so shoot, I'm gonna stay here. And so they're like, if there's anything you ever need, please contact us at the Queen of England, and you can be a spy and blah blah blah. And then he says, I do need one thing, because they did that in the first movie too, and I can't remember what he asked for.
And the second or first?
Second.
And the second, he got the rockets.
He got the rockets, and so then there's a race, and then Lightning McQueen's like, look at me go, I got my rockets, and so yeah. and
I love your impersonation of Larry the Cable Guy.
Oh,
shoot.
Shoot.
No, the other kind of shoot.
Oh, and there was a lot of dad gum, and it would summon the guns. Because he's a spy and he has gadgets.
Yeah, they just give this guy like real weapons.
After my description, I am realizing the flaws of the movie now. But
well, there are many.
But okay, let me clarify. Cars 2 has absolutely no business being in the Cars franchise series. It should be called Mater's Adventure. And
do you know there are a bunch of shorts like that, right?
Yeah, well, it should be one of those.
Yes.
Longer.
Fully believed, yes.
And it's nowhere near as good as the first Cars. And when I say I liked the first Cars, I did like the first Cars because I was thinking it was good, but slightly towards trash. But now I don't, because I found it very entertaining. It's nowhere near my top 5, but it is above WALL-E just because I like the storyline better than I like WALL-E's story. But the cinematic use and artistic things in WALL-E are far, 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 far better.
Far better.
Far better. Like, drastically better. But I just like the storyline probably better. And I had a better relationship with it as a child, so that's me. Anyway.
So we should...
Hello, Bear. Oh, he's stepping all over my paper. Hello. So yeah, Cars 2 is entertaining and good, but it's definitely one of the worst Pixar movies, but I enjoyed it.
The worst, I might say.
Oh, I'm talking so much. Y'all can talk so much after me after this. But I've also been making a list all day of my favorite Pixar characters, favorite Pixar villains, and my Pixar movies, and I've been ranking them. Cars 2 is towards the bottom, but it's above Bug's Life.
Well,
is that a high bar? It doesn't sound like it is.
Oh,
I
no,
like
it's
Bug's
like
Life.
Bug's Life thing, Cars 2.
Love that.
so let's now that everybody's up to speed on the plot.
Up to
Yeah,
speed?
sorry, that
Did you mean to say that?
I am speed.
Speed. I am triple speed.
I feel like that plot might have been worse.
I am infinity speed.
And beyond.
All right. Well,
So it's normally this point we discuss our personal connections to the film.
I very much.
so I didn't watch Cars 2 until this year when I finally committed to finishing.
Oh yeah, this summer you told me.
Yeah, this is the first time I've watched it all the way through.
So I've watched it twice this year. I've watched it more times this year than I've watched some movies I really, really like.
Yikes. Let me see if I can find the text that you sent me this past summer when he eventually got around to it.
I hope you find it. So prior to that, my only knowledge of Cars 2, I watched a lot of review channels tear it a new asshole, which was always an entertaining thing. And it pretty much cemented that I never wanted to watch this movie. And it kind of... my lack of wanting to watch Cars 2 also boiled over to Cars 3, which is unfair. You shouldn't
I like Cars 3.
Yeah, you shouldn't let your opinion of one movie dictate your opinion of another, even if it's part of the same franchise.
That's pretty timely for the current Star Wars debate going on.
I mean, yeah, I'm not letting my opinion of Rise of Skywalker color my opinion of Last Jedi or Force Awakens or anything. So
weirdly enough, I kind of like all three. So
yep, you're the super fan.
I'm not a super fan. It's for different reasons. I mean, obviously, The Last Jedi and The Rise of Skywalker are very, very different movies, and yet I still have mostly positive feelings to both of them.
Is the new one good?
I liked it. That's literally all I can say because I don't really care to say much else because the current the discourse around it is so horrible at this point.
Oh, they don't like it?
So, if you want my current hot take, Cars 2 is better than The Rise of Skywalker.
We love that.
Oh no. I hate Cars 2 so much. Oh no.
I don't like Cars 2 either, so the fact that I put it above Rise of Skywalker should tell you things.
George Lucas, we're sorry.
George Lucas had nothing to do with this one, buddy.
Oh, I don't know Star Wars at all. Like, at all. Everything I say about Star Wars is just so bad.
Well, let's not say anything more about Star Wars. Let's
move on.
Cars 2.
I've said that I don't care to talk about Star Wars anymore, so here I am.
So I will give this movie one positive, and part of this is because like Rise of Skywalker is so fresh in my mind in comparison, but like in general, this movie is very well shot. The action sequences are very coherent, understandable. John Lasseter, for all my faults with him as a writer, as a director, he's competent. He will show you things, and it will not be bad.
Yeah. The action sequences were very good.
I have another positive to say about the film. The music is really, really good. Michael Giacchino makes good music.
I still prefer the soundtrack to the first over this one.
Of course.
Well, this sounds like a James Bond
the first
soundtrack.
has Route 66 and Life is a Highway, so of course you like the first one.
I'm talking about the score.
Yeah.
I don't seem to remember many song. Well, okay, there's the cover of "You Might Think" by Weezer.
Yeah.
And I'm exactly the kind of sad loser who loves Weezer, so that was a nice.
I was so disappointed when that came up because the original song is
by the Cars.
Why on earth would you use a cover?
I don't know. It's a great song, the original and the cover. So
I didn't like the cover that much, to be honest. Which fitting for Cars 2.
I don't even remember it.
It's a lesser. All right, I'll give this film one more positive. In concept, Holly Shiftwell had an arc, and it could have been better.
No, definitely.
It was there.
Yeah, and Finn was kind of cool because he's like an Aston Martin, and the joke is that he's like a James Bond.
Who is his voice actor? Because his voice actor is like a generally solid dude.
Michael Caine.
Oh, yeah.
Michael Caine.
I was thinking none of them had a good arc. The only ones that really had arcs were Lightning and Mater. Lightning.
I would argue that Sarge has a good arc.
Which one's that?
The Jeep.
The Army Jeep.
Military Jeep.
The Sergeant. I don't know how else to describe him.
Watch both these movies today.
Yeah.
And you're not...
I am so bad with names that it's unreal.
But we love you for it. You remembered Aqualad.
Yes. I can remember
you.
I love Young Justice.
Some very specific things.
It was actually relating to Teen Titans.
But I can think of 5 people I've known for probably 8 years that I found out their name maybe last year, and even 2 of them I think about a month ago. So
what's my name?
Jaren. And I can spell it. Jarr.
Nora, that's Garrett. Who are you talking about?
Stop it.
Well,
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Continue.
well,
It's okay.
The reason I say, in theory, Holly Shiftwell has a good arc is she has the most like character beats that aren't spelled out for the audience the way like Lightning's and Mater's are. Like she wanted to be a spy, but she didn't really like believe in herself to do it, especially since she had more of a desk job. And coming to appreciate like how Mater values his dents and stuff like that. Those are character beats.
I used to dream that I would be a spy.
Oh,
God almighty, have you seen what's happened? Why?
Don't put Lena's with Cars too.
So
hey, it's there's some stuff in France in it.
yeah,
Yep.
the reason
there's one thing I really like in it.
Oh, what?
One little background thing. Just one little thing. Gas stoves. I mean, how could I not?
Good, you know. Anyway, like every other emotional character beat is really just overly spelled out in this movie. Like Lightning's conversation with Luigi's family is just like they basically just explain his arc and what he's doing, quote unquote, wrong.
Yeah, it's very forced.
Later has that whole just montage that keeps beating you over the head with him realizing what a dumbass he is. That was a moment this film needed.
I won't argue that though. I would argue that he's not dumb. Well, he is a bit of an idiot, but I'd argue that he's more uncultured than an idiot. Especially
he's a little slow.
But I'm not an idiot.
He reminds me of me.
See, that's where I'm coming from.
Well, my first note I made, because this is the first time I actually took notes instead of just having things in mind after watching.
See, I want to do that, but then I just want to enjoy the film. So I always just end up remembering like things that I want to talk about.
My first note is, some say this is Pixar's first film only for children, but the massive amounts of car violence make me think otherwise.
Yeah, if this movie was about humans, it would be rated R.
This movie was rated G.
There are so many car deaths. The scene where they kill what's-his-face with the Alanol, do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes. The American agent,
shoot him. That is so gruesome. You literally see in his reflection the car blowing up and dying. And in the first 5 minutes, you see a car body that was squished into a cube. And then that same spy proceeds to cause the death of at least 100 other cars.
But I can tell you none of that registered to 8-year-old Avery, so it was fine.
We forgot the relating segment where we relate the film to like our personal experience.
Okay.
Yeah, Avery, give us your personal experience on Cars 2.
You seem to appreciate that more than we do.
Okay, cool. Okay, so the only Pixar movie my family owns is Cars.
Oh.
That is the only movie we've ever owned. My family's not big into animated movies. We just never have been. I don't know what it is. Me and my sister are. Just my family isn't.
Yeah, I would say
so,
probably aren't either.
My dad is very much a Cars
Avery's sister,
person.
if you don't want your name being revealed.
Hello, what?
I said hi, Tara, or Avery's sister, if you don't want your name being revealed. If she doesn't, Dan, cut it out.
I don't think she'll care.
Okay. Hi, Tara. We love you.
No, she wouldn't care. She'll be fine.
So my dad's very much a Cars person. I mean, actual Cars, not the franchise. Actual Cars, because that's what his dad did when he was growing up, and that wasn't really. It's the whole Comcade thing, but he very much passed that down to me and my sister, and so we watched Cars, and then Cars 2 came out, and I remember exactly. I was 8 years old at the time, and there is a drive-in theater where we are, as you've mentioned before, Jaron.
Yes.
See, I watch you guys' stuff, and I'm your number one fan, and I'm also here to contest that. Anyway.
Oh, yeah, that's something else.
All right, no, later, Norrin, later. I'm telling this very emotional story, but we went to the great drive-in theater, just me and my dad, and we watched this movie, and it was just great. I mean, a lot of Cars, like I said, I'm doing this, I'm fighting for the honor of my father because it's very much something that's special between me and my dad because everything I like about the movies is what I got from him. Especially, I'll bring up this point now. As I was looking, I actually did research because I don't know. Anyway, I get very into stuff. And I looked into why John Lasseter, can't say his name for the life of me, would make, just went from this to, went from Cars to a spy movie. And I found out that he grew up watching, have any of you guys ever watched The Man from U.N.C.L.E.?
I've heard of it.
No.
I have not watched it myself.
Okay, well, they recently did a movie reboot with Henry Cavill in it, but it was a TV series starting in, the 1964 that my dad watched growing up, and I watched kind of growing up when he got the DVD set. I got it for him, so I've watched it with him for a while, and that's what John Lasseter watched as a kid and was obsessed with, and that's what he took inspiration from, because he also watched it with his kids, and so I was like, oh, so that's where that came from, in case you were wondering, and that made me very happy, because you can really see that's why it happened. So it really feels like the film is just a passion project, and it just really seems that way too.
I can get being a fan of spy movies and wanting to make one. I just don't understand why the Cars franchise.
I do not know.
That was my second note.
I was thinking this too, that if this premise had been on its own without the Cars, it would probably be a really good movie.
Mm-hmm.
Just because some of the stuff with the Cars, I mean, it adds to some things, but it kind of limits other things. If they had really taken on a different aspect, it could have been really, really good.
But it would still need a lot of plot changes because
yes.
These are supposed to be super spies. These are supposed to be super spies, and they can't even notice that they're working with a redneck.
Well, they assume he's under deep cover.
Yeah.
Yeah, even around them.
But how did Holly not do further research? Because everything else she's so smart with and looks up instantly. Wouldn't she be able to pull up Mater or his real identity?
She's just infatuated, truly in love at first sight.
Okay, no. That's something I have a problem with. There is no romance between them. The entire film, other than there's some friendship things and there's some connections. None of it is Sally, Lightning McQueen, you see romance in the first movie.
Yeah, and that's one thing I give it.
She's like, he's my boyfriend, I'm his girlfriend. And you're like, how? When? And so that was that.
Yeah, there's
I feel like
even a single shot where it's from Holly's perspective, slowly zooming in on Mater or something while a lovey-dovey soundtrack plays. She doesn't.
There's nothing.
There's never a moment where she develops feelings for him.
It is thrown together at the end, and it made me angry. That was something I had a major problem with.
Yeah.
See, I think when I was younger, I thought that Sally just said that to make everyone else shut up and be nice to Mater and give them a bit of respect, because that's how you get respect. You get a hot girlfriend. Won't go into that. A whole different topic. That's beyond Infinity and beyond. Hey, that's your second podcast. But so, yeah, no, I don't agree with any of the romance. It was very much a whole put in this girl who kind of doesn't fit in with the people. It's a very Sally dynamic that they're we'll just make them love each other, but I don't know what that noise was, but it's expressive of how I feel.
Jaren, what's your emotional connection to Cars?
I saw it when it came out. I thought it was kind of okay.
So good.
I was 14 when it came out, and I was like, oh, cool. I think it's neat that there's a spy Cars, a James Bond pastiche voiced by Michael Caine. I think that's kind of neat. Yeah.
Daniel?
I'm waiting for Brave to come out. We'll see how that turns out next week.
Wait, what?
I was
At the
waiting
time.
for Brave.
Brave.
That was the Pixar film I was more interested in. That's the next one.
Oh.
So I kind of talked about this before, but like when it came out, I had no interest in it. I mostly just watched people trash it on YouTube because I was a dumb 14-year-old, and that was the kind of thing I was into, just watching people be cynical on YouTube.
Same.
But now I'm a mature 22-year-old, and I'm all about watching people on YouTube be positive about things.
Same.
Yay! You should
That's a
watch
character arc right there.
You should
Yeah,
watch Thomas
maybe
Sanders.
one of these days I'll move on, and I'll watch people in real life be positive instead.
Oh.
Oof. Hey, that's near impossible in these days and times, but you know.
Oh.
Possible. I love you all, and you're all fabulous. There.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So I just said I like being positive now, but I've already given Cars 2 all the compliments I can.
Same.
Hella lit. That's
my
peak-
emotional
peak of
connection is little to none because
mm.
I also didn't care about it when it came out.
Oh, okay.
I don't remember it coming out, to be honest.
You were 8.
All I remember is the wasabi scene, and I don't think I watched it all the way through. If I did, I don't remember it. So I watched it through last night, and I thought it was very entertaining. It has no depth or correct structuring or really any deep thought behind the character developments and arcs. There was a lot of blank space that were just kind of thrown together for the sake of cars that are spies, because the premise is very childlike, but I was entertained. Also, I hated the first 5 minutes. I watched the first 5 minutes and then had to force myself to watch the rest, but then ended up liking the rest. So, there's that. I mean, not loving, like it's literally the next to bottom of my Pixar movies, but I liked it. I like all the Pixar movies, but I really was entertained. So good job at Cars 2. You entertained this Nora. Now Cars 1 I really liked. That's something different, but okay.
Okay, so
I also would like to point out that at the time my favorite movie whenever I was younger was just whatever movie I'd watched last. Honestly, still pretty accurate because I just don't know how to pick a favorite movie.
What was the last movie you saw?
Oh no. Oh, I saw Avengers. Like the first one. I hadn't seen it before. Don't question me.
I'm not.
Okay.
I haven't seen it.
Okay, good. I'm not alone. We've just gotten into the movies now. We're great. That's another thing. I have not a good attention span. So it's very hard for me to watch a singular action-packed TV episode, much less like an over an hour long movie. So I do prefer action movies. So I still held that at the time of my age. Not what I meant to say. When I was younger. And a year after this, I want to point out, if you guys probably, Nora, I don't know if you remember the Big Time Rush movie.
No.
Oh, yes, I do. Oh,
yeah, I do not think that was in you guys' generation. Nora, but it's exactly the same thing.
Really?
They go on a world tour. They start in London. They accidentally end up in this whole major spy thing. The only thing is that theirs involves the Beatles.
I don't remember.
Oh, yeah.
A year after this movie came out, that movie came out.
I have actually seen the Big Time Rush movie. I know what you're talking about.
Thank you. That's weird, because that was my next favorite movie.
Yeah, no, I remember it because it was just like kind of
Absolutely ridiculous. Yes.
I would just like leave the TV on and just like watch whatever's on, and so I mostly saw it in the background. Like I didn't pay attention, but you're right. I remember a boy band being spies.
Yes.
So
they
yeah,
had their own Holly Shipwell. It was Penny. It was very similar.
So Nickelodeon ripped off Pixar, but they ripped off Cars 2.
Not the smartest move, but also,
Well, I guess I thought no one would care.
yes, what to say.
I sure don't.
Yeah, no, I don't care either. But it is an interesting factoid nonetheless.
You know, the last several episodes where I've had this, kind of emotional, like, speech per episode about, themes and character of each film. And, like, how it personally touches me.
Let me guess, you don't have it for this one.
You stole words right from my mouth, kid.
Well, they literally, in my research, jeez. They have addressed, like, the hardest part was finding some sort of emotional center. And a lot of them kind of acknowledge, like, we didn't exactly find anything. We finally just settled on making it about their friendship. And so it's very obvious that they had their only focus was on traveling the world and the whole spy idea. There was no anything else.
They didn't put any effort into making the racing segments worthwhile.
No.
It's like there are no stakes there outside of the whole spy subplot, but like the actual.
Well, that's because McQueen isn't the main character.
But they still could have given it stakes. Like at the beginning of the movie, they introduced the Piston Cup as become the Hudson Horn Piston Cup.
Yeah.
What if they had just like
wait? What? I missed that.
Race,
because like, Paul Newman died. Ugh.
Okay, one of my notes is.
Hang on, sorry. All I wanted to say was, what if they just like made this world-spanning race the Hudson Hornet Grand Prix?
Why not? Yeah, that would have been good.
Like, would have added some stakes to this, to Lightning winning or losing.
Oh, it really just meant nothing.
Yeah, they really did not care at all about making the races worthwhile. Anyway, Jaron, your note. Sorry.
Yeah. The tribute to Doc / Paul Newman is all right, but what if they did what they would eventually do in the third film in this one? And the idea I had in mind after that was they could have made Lightning the main character, and could have been just after Doc passed away or however Cars die. I'm not getting into that. I'm not getting into any of the lore implications of this universe. We went into it way too much in the last one.
But my father and I have a theory. But continue.
Anyway, they could have kept the same like premise. They could have even had some of the spy shenanigans, and just had to deal with Lightning dealing with the loss of Doc and wanting to live up to his legacy and his memory, like they did in the third movie that I actually kind of like. Yeah.
They were gonna do that. Wait, I gotta find where my notes are in this. It's literally something that's I've read something. I have no idea my notes where it is. But they said they tried to do that, and then they just gave up.
Okay, that's fair. Eventually they put it in the third movie.
I have not seen the third movie. Scandalous, I know. But I watch these movies with my dad. We haven't had a time.
The third one is the good one.
I've seen it. The kid I babysit is obsessed with that movie. He loves it so much.
Yeah, I kind of wonder if, like, what Doc's role would have been in the film. Because he was originally in it, and then Paul Newman died, and they're we're not going to get another person.
Yeah, I don't think they could recast him.
They recast the guy who played Fillmore, but Fillmore was just,
George Carlin passed away, which I find really odd that George Carlin voiced Fillmore.
Yeah. Also, let me just say,
you Zoomers know who George Carlin is, right?
No, I don't. I'm very sorry.
Thank goodness. I'm not the only one that doesn't know for once.
I should mention this. By the way, my favorite thing about the podcast is the whole Batman Robin dynamic, first Robin dynamic, where Nora's a bit clueless, so you guys have to explain stuff to her. Anyway, continue.
I love that so much. She told me that, and I was like, that is amazingly accurate.
She's the Dick Grayson to you guys as Batman.
Nice.
Collectively, you're Batman. And I am Batgirl. Nora, we're dating now.
Yes.
Okay, anyway, Jaren, we were speaking. I'm sorry, who is George?
Oh, he was a famous comedian. Very foul-mouthed. I wouldn't recommend looking him up. Maybe when you're a little bit older.
Okay.
If you have sensitive ears, George Carlin isn't for you, but he's
not the person for you.
He's otherwise
let's go listen to
one
him.
of the best comedians, just in general. Like, of all.
Legend. I find it odd that he voiced Fillmore. George Carlin.
Oh, my dad showed me some of his stuff.
Well, Fillmore is funny.
So, I'm willing to bet it's probably just because at the time Cars came out, like, nobody said no to Pixar.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Well, George Carlin also narrated a bunch of, like, Thomas the Tank Engine. I know this because we leave calming children's television on overnight for my dog. And so Thomas the Tank Engine was on. I was like, wait a minute, that's George Carlin. I don't know how I didn't notice that.
well,
my favorite relationship.
Because
I'm sorry.
It's probably because he narrated Thomas the Tank Engine episode, so he can make fun of himself for narrating Thomas the Tank Engine episode.
Honestly, that's very in character.
That's probably what happened.
I just wanted to add that my favorite relationship in this second movie, not any of the relationships they try and develop, but Sarge and Fillmore are great.
Yes.
I like their dynamic, and it's barely touched upon, but it makes me happy.
Yeah.
That's my favorite
probably
part of
a couple.
You think I switch it out? You're dead wrong, man. It was him. I love him.
I meant to say that in my synopsis because that was like my favorite part, and that was so good. That's my biggest compliment.
It was one more thing on top of the twisty layers of weirdness that they had already pulled, so it didn't matter.
Yeah. Okay, but I mean, this movie is entertaining. Like, no, it has no emotional depth.
If you're 10.
But like,
if you're 8, it's amazing. I can confirm.
If you're 8, it's your favorite movie. If you're
to be
older,
fair, I was 10 when the first Cars came out, so.
If you're older and appreciate Pixar, you'll say, wow, this is really bad compared to all the others. But if you watch it on its own, it's really entertaining.
It's really pretty at times, and
it is.
The music's good.
Yeah, the animation, I also, more research on this. Look at me being so professional. The water was created using all new technology, and the scale is one of the biggest challenges. The level of detail in the film is about 10 times more than any other Pixar film. It's like the biggest thing that's ever...
It shows. It looks good.
Yes.
Probably to make up for their no character development. But the water's nice.
I mean, it's cool, but it feels like... Sorry.
I should also say this came out in 2011, which was in the middle to end of the big post-Avatar 3D craze, when everything was in 3D and there's a race to have, the most amazing special effects and 3D. So I'm sure that might have played a role in some of it.
Possible.
Because there was a period in from I want to say January 2010 to around mid 2013 when 3D was being pushed in your face everywhere.
That's true. I remember that.
They were straight up re-releasing old movies that you could just watch on Blu-ray whenever in 3D in the theater. Phantom Menace, Jurassic Park,
Alice in Wonderland.
Oh man, that Alice in Wonderland movie. Gosh.
Wait, are you saying bad things about that film? I
can't stand it.
Oh no.
What?
It is late stage Tim Burton and Johnny Depp falling off the map.
That movie is great.
It's awful.
Jared, I remember when I got to see that movie, it was a big deal because I was getting to go see it on a weeknight and it was in 3D. It didn't have in 3D when I went to go see it because it was a cheap ploy to make you pay more money, but that didn't matter to me as a child because it was cool that I got to wear the glasses.
All right.
And Johnny Depp. Okay. The
Please.
things he did are bad, but like bad. But
There is no but.
okay, bad. But he's good in that movie.
Okay. Anyway, you know
And Cars too.
You know, it's a really good film from Disney in 2010 that was in 3D and is way better and deserves way more respect that I'm going to watch later tonight.
What?
Tron Legacy.
That just brought up these vaguest memories in my brain.
It's on Disney Plus.
I'm
Go
so
watch
sorry
it.
if I'm gonna bring this up. Jaren, I need to ask you a question, and it's gonna be about Kingdom Hearts, and I'm sorry I'm the one to bring this up. In the first Kingdom Hearts video game, does the main character like get forgotten by everyone?
Sort of.
Is that a thing?
That is in between 1 and 2.
Thank you. That's really random, but I just have a memory from that from my childhood. Scarred me for life. I don't know where it came from. Thank you.
You played Kingdom Hearts?
No, my sister did, to my knowledge.
Okay.
We both got this is actually getting us back on track. We both got a video game when we were younger. My sister got Kingdom Hearts. I got Cars.
Mm-hmm.
And Cars 2 again. All right, continue.
Anyway, Tron Legacy, good. Go watch it. It's on Disney Plus right now. Not right now, but later. I highly recommend it.
Wait, are you telling us to go do that, or the people, the viewers?
You and everyone.
Okay.
Really good. I love it. I think Disney could do something with it again.
Well, that's another thing. Sequels. Cars 2 was one of the Cars 2 was one of the first Pixar movies to really receive mixed reviews. But a lot of people said when they started looking into it, a lot of people started attacking Pixar because they thought they were just going to sequels, even though, they were saying, hey, we have all this new stuff. Like, no, you've got 2 Toy Stories, even though we love them, you're just doing sequels. Even though there's definitely stuff to complain about in this movie. I'm not arguing. It looks like a kid's movie. It is a kid's movie, but it's Pixar, so.
Yeah, Cars 2 kind of does more than Toy Story 3. It heralds the 2010s era of Pixar where it was a lot of sequels.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think they made 6 sequels and 4 original films in this whole decade.
Daniel, you made a video about that.
Yes, I did. That's how I know these things.
Mm-hmm.
And unlike some of their sequels, this one, I don't even know if I can call it a cash grab, because Cars wasn't like their most popular film or anything. From a merchandise perspective, yeah, obviously. But, but like,
according to Lasseter, is just because he was like, oh, I love Cars. This is my babies. We make more.
Yeah, like,
okay, so I did know.
Started on this movie like as soon as Cars 1 ended, and
even before then.
Kind of, but
he came up with the idea of Finn McMissile like during the beginning, during the production of Cars.
Yeah, and like this movie came to be because he had total control over Pixar. Like if there was somebody with oversight over John Lasseter in the company, they would not have approved this. Mm-mm. They would have at the very least made him redo the story.
Yes.
Like they probably would have approved it for money reasons because money.
Yeah.
But they would not have allowed the Pixar brand name to be sullied just because this man-child wanted to make a spy film about his Cars franchise.
Honestly, it feels if the movie ended with like a cutaway to Andy playing with car toys,
it would make sense.
It feels like throughout my watching the first like 40 minutes of it before I was like, no, I can't do this anymore. And I actually took a nap, like straight up, like 10 minutes before we started recording. I was asleep.
Love that.
I woke up, I was like, crap. Anyway, I was thinking so many points throughout my watching. I was like, action, playset. There are so many like set pieces that feel like they would be like a toy playset.
Yeah, I feel like what this movie should have been should have been what I suggested earlier, where it's the Hudson Hornet Grand Prix and Lightning wants to win for Doc's memory.
Yeah.
And just, it's a background gag that Mater got caught up in a spy thing.
That's a
Yes.
good, yeah, I'd enjoy that. Because I do like, for the most part, these characters.
The spy thing just shouldn't be part of the Cars franchise at all.
I mean,
Like, at all.
so, yeah, my second note was, Laster really wanted to make a spy movie, then why
Yes.
didn't he just make a spy movie?
Thank you. Yes, that's what.
Well, now he's over at Blue Sky and they're doing Spies in Disguise. So.
No, he's not Blue Sky, he's at Skydance.
What's that movie with Will Smith that they're making? And it's like the
That's the
Pigeons
Spies in Disguise,
Is
and
that what we're
Tom
talking
Holland's in it.
2
Okay.
days, isn't
I
it?
don't know. It looks all right. I'm just tired
Dis-
of Tom Holland fans.
Disney is dumping that on Christmas Day, aren't they?
Yes.
With very little
Holland is
advertising.
great.
Just to bury it because they didn't want it.
I'm
Well, 'cause,
excited
yeah,
for Soul.
It was in production like during the merger, so
That was really irrelevant, but I am excited for Soul. I don't know much about it, but I'm
yes,
excited.
I am too. It looks good.
It looks good. I haven't seen much about it. It just looks good.
Well, there's only been that one like teaser, so
Yeah, guys, we should go together.
the Pixar buds.
Yes, Doug plus the others.
I will talk about my opinions on Soul when we get to Inside Out, since Pete Doctor.
And you
Okay.
could almost say it almost feels like it's like a spin-off or even a pseudo sequel to Inside Out.
Back to Cars 2. I would say the reason I really can find it like entertaining is sort of what I said earlier. I really don't think of it as Cars 2, like at all. I just think of it as something totally different. Like I kind of have to.
Like a side story, yeah.
Yeah,
Or
like
one of those Mater shorts.
yes. Except
And you know what?
It's a full film.
Those are funny. Those are actually
They
kind of
are.
good.
This movie, I think Mater's funny. I like his crude little jokes. I find them funny. A few of them are oh wow, but I am a childish little person and I find them funny. So
I still don't find Mater funny. I
really,
said in the last podcast there was only the one joke that ever made me laugh that involved Mater.
the
Hey,
piston
what, Miss
cup
Cook?
one.
No, it was the one where he took off Lightning's boot and Lightning drove away.
Oh yeah. Oh.
I thought it was he did what in his cup?
Yeah, I can't hear piston cup without thinking that. So
Well then, you're Mater. Congratulations.
no, I'm not.
Okay.
I usually, as you can tell from the previous podcast, lean towards the more comedic characters. I don't know why. I find them enjoyable. Mater's not my favorite. I still
I
like
know why, but
him.
we're not getting into that.
Okay.
I'm not gonna ask.
Oh no, exposed. But he's definitely not here because some of his humor is rather crude, but I find it entertaining. I still like him.
I don't really laugh at things on. That sounds so robotic. I don't laugh at, things that are just on film. But then I also like Nora said, I kind of watch it like it's. There's not really a movie I don't enjoy watching. Oh, that's a lie. There's not a like action movie. I like action movies. I don't do normal life romancy or just drama movies. Don't like those. Those bore me. But normal action movies, I'll watch them, and even if they're terrible, I'll watch them just to watch them. And this is kind of how the Cars 2 went. You just kind of watch it and you're like, this is not great. It's got some really bad parts, but you just watch it and you just enjoy it for what it is.
Yes.
You're going to get through the movie, so just enjoy it while you can and
Yes.
enjoy it for what it is, even if what it is not good.
This is how I feel.
I'm kind of the opposite. So
Oh, do tell.
often not action scenes in movies bore me
Yeah.
because there's not a lot of creativity there. Like, I'm not asking for every film to be Mad Max or John Wick, but
Or
it like you could take just about any action sequence from any Marvel movie or DC movie or big budget like 80s reboot movie, and my eyes will glaze over because
My
there's
favorite part of
nothing
Marvel
I
movies
care
are when they're
about.
talking.
Oh, I think it's beautiful.
Oh,
That sounds
let me
strange, but
on
And even
action
though
movies. Oh, sorry, you go ahead, Daniel.
I was just going to finish my thought, even though I praised like how well shot the action in this movie was, that doesn't make it interesting to me.
no, yeah.
It they just fight and they fight and they fight, and then the story happens, and then they fight.
I think mine liking it might go back to me being a dancer because I realized the reason I like it is I think the choreography, the fight choreography is what I really appreciate. I think it's just super interesting to see how, they did this move and this move and this move, especially the dynamic of whenever it's like a superhero movie and there's this one great powerful superhero and all these other guys, to see the difference they have between them of how they choreograph the fighting. That's a whole tangent. Sorry, I'll stop.
I can appreciate really good fight choreography. Again, the John Wick franchise is great because it's got some of the best fight choreography just ever.
Mm-hmm.
But choreography isn't enough. Like if you're stopping your story, your whole movie, just to have an action sequence,
Yeah.
then it doesn't work. Like the action sequence where like Mater has to leave the pit and he's still on the headset and stuff. Like the only story thing that comes out of that is that Lightning comes in second place, and we already established that nothing about the racing is important in this film.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. This is how I feel about action movies. Controversial opinion, I suppose. I don't like them.
You're canceled.
Especially like live action. I don't hate them. Like I had never seen John Wick, and I went to see the most recent one this last year, and it was pretty good. I was like, for that genre that I don't typically like, I liked it. I appreciated the fighting choreography because I was like, dang, that took forever. But at the same time, action movies I typically find very boring. And I know that's not how you're supposed to look at it, but I think mine's sort of the same maybe as Daniel, because I'm just watching, I'm like, oh my gosh, you usually know what's going to happen. Just hurry up and kill him or do something. I get very bored unless I find more recently I can watch animated action. I don't know why. Like The Incredibles is one of my favorite Pixar films.
Hey, do you know what movie you would like? It's on Netflix.
The Spider-Man universe one.
That's
there
a good
you go.
One. Nor have you not watched it?
No.
I'm so genuinely tired
We're
of
watching it on our Batman marathon.
It was on Netflix.
Throwing that in between.
Okay.
It's a pretty movie.
Well, the thing about like animated action sequences, like the reason they're usually so well shot and whatnot, they don't have the limitations of real life where you have to have somebody who knows how to film this stuff and then have to get the shots with actors. And sometimes the actors don't or can't do the shots, so you have to use stunt doubles, so you have to hide their faces and stuff like that. Like the reason a lot of action sequences are bad is simply because they can't be made good.
Yeah.
A big problem with modern action scenes is the constant like shaky cam and or just super quick cuts.
Yep. Thank you, Paul Greengrass. You ruined cinema.
Huh?
I don't even have anything against Paul Greengrass. He's fine, but the Bourne supremacy, Bourne identity, whatever, got us here, and it's all his fault.
Hey, those were good, but
I don't really have a problem with them, but he made shaky cam a thing, and that's the worst thing he could have ever done.
Yep.
What I'm saying though is I like most movies, but if I walk out of a full-blown action movie and I say I loved that, I would watch it again. It's a good movie. Like that.
Have you ever walked out of a movie, like in the middle of it?
No.
There was one I should have.
I don't go to movies.
Rarely do I go. I have a sad movie story.
Oh?
Daniel knows about it.
Oh no.
Tell the story.
Oh no.
So my church meets at a movie theater, as I've mentioned before. And on Easter Sunday, not this past year, but the one before, I was like, hey, I could stick around and watch a movie. I've got nothing better to do. I've got nowhere else to be. And so I decided to watch Ready Player One, a movie which I had goofed on and clowned on for some period of time. But I decided I was going to watch it because I had a gift card in the movie theater, and I was like, hey, it's in 3D. I'm just going to have a little 3D, experience. Popcorn movie.
Mm-hmm.
The visual effects look nice. I'm just going to sit here and watch it in 3D.
Mm-hmm.
So I did on a random Sunday afternoon with like 2 other people in the theater other than me. It was really depressing. And I just find it to be like just the saddest movie to go see by yourself, just for the sake of this is just an embarrassing movie in general.
I don't know what it's about.
It's not worth it.
Oh, like, I'm sorry, Jared.
No, it's okay. It's more funny to tell than anything.
No, I've never walked out of a movie. There was one I should have. Yeah, should have.
Do you want to tell us what it was?
It was, I don't even remember what it was called. Let it be known, I don't like horror films, but I have grown to like them more because my best friend, which Avery pointed out, I said her full name on another podcast, but oops.
And then that was when I revealed the town which we live in, and Daniel had to cut that.
Yep, but Emily, she's my best friend, and she loves horror movies. So I've actually grown to like them, and I really only watch them with her, but I like them. But this one was too real and freaked me out a lot. And I saw it with her, and I don't even remember what it was called, but it freaked me out so bad. I was like sitting silent by the end of the film, and I thought I was fine. And then I got home, and like I was like, no, and like just cried because it was so bad and like scary, and it wasn't even that scary. It just messed me up, and I have no desire to ever see it again, and it should be erased from the face of the planet, and it is one of the only movies I truly hate with all my heart, and that is how I feel, and if I ever find out the name, I will diss it so hard that it won't be able to feel its little movie bones anymore, and that is the only movie I truly hate with my heartbeat and soul. The end.
Cool beans.
All right.
Hey, you know who can't walk out of movies? Cars. They drive. Back to Cars.
Yeah. If I had seen this one in theaters, I probably would have tried to walk out, but because I was 14 at the time, I wouldn't have had a way to get home.
Okay, so I have a question because, Daniel, you said that you watched this movie more recently, so not as a child. What did you think of the villain? Like, did you predict the villain and how it was going?
His mistake.
So,
What?
I was doing the meme.
Okay.
Well, here's the thing. I think I mentioned I'd like seen like YouTubers review and just trash the movie, so I knew ahead of time everything. I'm still baffled by just how dumb it is. Like,
I'm still baffled as to why I'm still subscribed to Jeremy Johns.
So,
Jeremy Johns?
A YouTuber. Anyway.
Okay.
Like, the villain's plan is to sabotage himself so he can make money.
Yes.
Well, the villain's plan is to sabotage the idea of alternative fuel. Because everyone's turning to it, especially like when the movie was made.
So like he sold all of his oil stuff already at the start of the movie. But he also apparently has the largest oil rig in the world. And he can't just sell that and then turn to alternative fuel because and so he decides to make alternative fuel look bad, but he was the only person who was pushing for alternative fuel in the first place. So he made this problem so he could make money.
You got Fillmore.
Then he had to sabotage himself to make more money.
Yes.
We never said that Axel was a smart boy.
He could have literally done nothing, and he would have made money.
Yes.
But he had to do something, and then do something about his doing something in order to make money.
Yes, it does not make sense.
Well, from what I read, that they put the big oil companies as the bad guys, as the villains, because at the time of when they were writing it, everyone was turning to alternative fuel. That's his name in the Cars universe, is Lassiter. I found that out too. There's a car named after him, and I can't get over it. Also, random, but there's a car with the best name. His name is Miguel Camino. Anyway.
Oh, okay.
I have
like
that solely written down on my notes as Miguel Camino.
Hmm.
But he lived in LA where all people were going to solar power, and he's going to an electric car. So he decided, hey, the world. They never. You're right. They never mention in the Cars movie that the world is trying to go to alternative fuel. It's just Axel. Just Axel's we need alternative fuel, and then he's like, no, let's just change it up. It's just he's an interesting boy.
Can we talk about in the beginning of this movie? I'm like, oh my gosh, sorry. I think that I'm trying not to say because I feel like I've said it 20 times. That Mater and Lightning McQueen get on my nerves very much.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very, very much. Just both of them. This is what I meant to talk about earlier. I feel as if Mater values Lightning and his friendship 20 million times more than Lightning does, and it's very much so.
Ooh,
Which makes less sense.
We've either
should
had
be the other
that
way
friend
around.
or been that friend, and I think I fall into the latter more often than
we don't need to go into the existential crisis corner, Jaren. Please no.
My life is the existential crisis corner.
Well,
I said I wouldn't cry.
So sad because despite Mater's bad jokes and lack of book smarts,
self-awareness as well,
he is a good friend. That is one thing about Mater. He is loyal. He is a good friend. Those are his two. I said again. Those are his two best characteristics, and Lightning just smashes upon them and doesn't seem to appreciate the things Mater planned for them. And I get wanting to go hang with your girlfriend, but if Mater planned a whole day, you stay with Mater. And especially since at this moment you're not planning to go in the race, you go see your girlfriend the next day. Commitments, Lightning. Commitments.
That he never would have gotten the race in the first place, but then all those cars would have died. So there's a question. But I think that it should be the other way around, because from the first movie we learned that Lightning has no friends because he's a kid who's been exploited his entire short existence. And so he's been isolated and he has no real friends. And his first real friend is Mater. So shouldn't he be more... Maybe it's because we see that he has other friends later on in the movie when he goes to Tokyo and he meets up with those
the other
two guys.
racers who are also voiced by real race car drivers.
I know, that's cool. I like it so much. But I just don't like that because it just takes all of what Lightning has. He's valuing these people who are really his friends and just no, let's chuck it and just no.
yeah.
And plus, Mater also gets on my nerves in the beginning just because it seems that his whole life has become dependent on Lightning. And I'm like, Mater, listen, buddy, you may not be the smartest tool in the tool shed, but you got a lot going for you, hon. You got some personality. You've been independent for this long time. You don't need Lightning McQueen to make your life happy. Also, they really, 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 really play the stupid on Mater in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
They really just drive that one home.
In the first movie, he was just kind of not very bright.
Yeah, they go a little far with this one.
Except for in the end, where all of a sudden he figures out a whole plot and figures out exactly how to stop it, how to get there, and how to do everything.
Yeah, how did he?
The plot is stupid. That? So of course Mater understands
it. That's his territory.
There we go. Daniel fixed the plot hole. There it is.
But
everyone's just an idiot in this movie, though.
My favorite part is Because I am Lightning Queen in the end, where, Lightning is chasing Mater, and then they all get stopped by all the bad guys, and he's like, whoa, what's happening? And I'm just like, that's pretty accurate to most people. It's like, are these the spies? What's this is, all right, this is the bomb? What? Are you sure? And he's just like, yep, and he's like, oh, okay.
Yeah. Communication would have solved every problem in this film, but... And, it's not even a liar reveal type of thing. Mater is honest and upfront about what he is. Everyone else is just too stupid.
Yes. Yeah. Mater is not the stupidest one in this movie, but yet he still is.
Yeah.
It's just they're the one they play upon. But also, he's a genius when you look at it from Finn's perspective. Only when you look at it from that perspective, because I actually got into his perspective in the movie. I was like, oh my gosh. If he really was some undercover spy, and
it'd be amazing.
He says when he's going undercover in that scene, and he accidentally reads off all the guys where he's wanted, be like, oh, I'm fine, so and so that's wanted in Germany, France, and then the guy's like, hey, calm down, don't mess with him, he's in a bad mood. I was like, wow, he is accidentally a genius.
It's a stupid trope, but I love that trope.
I love the trope too. I know it's stupid and Finn should realize that he's a tow truck and it makes no sense, but I think it's a funny idea.
It's one of the things that makes it feel like a kid's movie. It's the whole, we're doing this and we're not going to really you don't really have to understand, or it doesn't really have to make sense. We're going to do this. It's that and the whole, we're going to go see the world and teach you about it all while action is happening. It's very kid showy.
It's a very much kids movie. There's movies like Incredibles or Up that I feel as if can appeal to all age.
Or Cars.
Yeah.
My dad is 65 and he loves Cars. It appeals to all ages.
Okay.
I mean, like I said, my grandfather loves WALL-E and Up.
Yes, those movies, especially WALL-E, is for all ages, especially if you like animation. Cars 2 is
no,
it's not.
You
can still enjoy it as an adult. It's just
not as much.
No.
It's not as exciting.
You are for a kid.
The frustrating part about this movie, it's not even so bad it's good.
Mm-mm.
If this had just been an out-and-out train wreck, then at least we could laugh at it. But it's just
the perfect opportunity to say car wreck.
It's like a half-baked idea. It's like, oh, this got this cool stuff. It's got all the good elements. It's like mixing a bunch of good food together in a blender. And I like chocolate and I like peanut butter, but I also I don't know what doesn't go with those things.
Wasabi.
I also like wasabi. And you're just putting all those things in a blender and then you pour it out and this is the movie. They're like, that's not a good idea. You only have some of the ideas.
iPhone smoke. Don't breathe this.
They ruined the Reese's cup.
That's great, Nora.
Thank you.
It is quite sad that this had to be the last film John Lasseter directed.
Yeah.
For the best, because he's a bad person.
I had to inform Avery of that 10 minutes before the podcast.
I knew that. I just didn't register in my brain. I did learn about it on the podcast. I just didn't register the name because I only pronounce things how I read them. And
it's
so
okay.
I can't
did
pronounce
it
things
20 minutes ago when I forgot everything about Johnny Depp because
I also learned that Steve Jobs was a founding member of Pixar, and I just can't get that out of my head.
Yeah. Well, I think...
And George Lucas.
Absolutely not.
Wait, what?
Yeah, George Lucas. Well, Pixar started out as the computer graphics department of
Sorry, but why is Pixar the ultimate crossover?
Well, it started off as the computer graphics department of Lucasfilm. Sold it to Steve Jobs. And yeah, even in the first Toy Story, Steve Jobs is listed as a producer.
Oh, different point. Cars 2 is, I've talked about this briefly, Avery. It is the only Pixar movie thus far that I have had problems with the voice acting.
It's because, and I explained this to you, it's because Cars made a big deal of getting, like Jaren said, those guys who voiced the cars were actual race car drivers, NASCAR drivers, whoever they were, and they replaced them for different countries. And the boat guy is the actual captain of the boat they based it off of, and Nora doesn't like him.
Okay, I wasn't going to say which person it was because I didn't want to offend, but yes, it is the boat guy in the first 5 minutes. I didn't.
Who was he voiced by?
I don't know, and
I had it up. I should have kept it up.
I was just going to say there's a part in the beginning I'm like, but is part of it's the writing, no offense, drama.
Hey, you know who's in this movie that I really like?
Who?
Freaking Bruce Groovy Campbell.
Who now?
Bruce Campbell.
Yay.
He voiced the American spy who got killed.
Yes, I'm looking at his
But he's a famous actor.
now.
He's been in a bunch of Sam Raimi's movies. He made a cameo in all 3 of Sam Raimi's Spider-Man trilogy.
I believe I should give the disclaimer an hour and a half into this. I don't watch a lot of movies. I do not have a good attention span. But he did great.
We still welcome you here anyway.
Okay. I'm here to fight in honor of my father. All right? I don't have to be a knight for that.
But anyway, I was really disappointed with that. That's like, because I even texted y'all after the first 5 minutes of watching this movie. I hate it. But then I watched the rest and I found it.
Yeah, that was whiplash for us, where you're like, first 5 minutes, I hate it. End of the movie. Guys, this is great.
What did I say earlier? I said, I'm watching Cars 2 right now, and my most recent note is, quote, pure misery.
I want to read you. I asked some of this stuff is what my dad said. So one, the cars that are bad guys, by the way, lemons are cars that are normally new, but then you find out that they have manufacturing problems, like a whole model. Which also, can we talk about how there are just straight up like bunches of models made in cars, and so my father and I do have a theory about how the Cars world works. But so the no longer made cars that are bad guys, the Gremlins, Pacers, Hugos, Trunkovs, all those guys that they mentioned, are actually like real cars that were discontinued. So they don't make their parts anymore. They don't make the cars anymore.
Like I know a Gremlin's like a just a bad old car, like a Pinto or something.
Also, he said that it's a great, it's got spies and you get lessons. Like, you think he's going to say something like friendship. No, this is my dad's lessons. Quote, if you don't take care of your car, it will rise up and take over the world. End quote. That's from my father. This knowledge has been departed upon you. You're welcome.
I want to go hang out with your dad, Avery.
Everyone does. Everyone loves my
guy.
dad. I mean, rightfully so. I love my dad. He's so
when your dad's a cool person, people want to hang out with him. That's just the rule of the universe.
He's the kind of person who watches Cars and only Cars. Cars, black and white movies.
Wait. So your theory is that humans didn't take good care of their cars?
No.
And they uprose?
No.
Okay.
That was my dad's lesson.
Okay.
But it does go into, both in the first movie and in the second movie, they say to an older car that they're getting up there in mileage. And I just want to say that if the Johnny Cash car. Do you guys know the Johnny Cash song that's like, take one piece at a time, didn't cost me a dime, I
love Johnny Cash.
Okay, it's that song where he steals a bunch of parts from the factory he works at and puts together a car, but it's made of a bunch of different years, but it's all put together at the same time. So, in the Cars universe, what age would that car be?
Some kind of Frankensteinian jalopy.
See, that's the thing, is my father and I believe that we don't think they have ages because they're cars. And, car shows, they bring out cars that are, from when all the cars in Radiator Springs are, 50s, 60s, because, by the way, Mater is a 50s model. At least 50s design. Confirmed by my father. And by the way, Lizzie, the reason she's called Lizzie is because those types of cars were called Tin Lizzies, and I thought that was cool. Because that's a 30s model. Doc is maybe a 49. And so all of these cars, they bring them out to car shows in real life, and they still work. They're in pristine conditions because they've been taking care of them. So the theory is that cars don't have an age; they just have health. So they will just die.
This is my issue.
All right, go ahead.
If they're on mileage, Lightning McQueen would be easily older than all of them because he's a race car.
Mileage does not mean miles. Mileage is not just miles. Mileage is health. Because, race cars, when they go out on track, they can have 3 engines ready. And they go out on track.
I don't know the first thing about NASCAR and stuff.
This is why you need me on it, because my dad knows all this stuff. I mean, it's just, that's why the first movie was also hit some bad reviews, is because there's a whole thing about NASCAR that people didn't really enjoy it. But it's freaking as American as baseball, in the words of my father, because it started in the South as people needing to outrun the cops.
It did start off as moonshine running.
Yeah. They need to outrun the cops, and so they have to figure out how to make faster cars, and so they get together and
live in the South?
Fastest one.
Dana, what's the logistics on that?
Man.
We live in the South, so NASCAR is definitely a thing here. One thing I noticed watching the movie is that Lightning McQueen has a very sizable Japanese fan base. So that makes me wonder, is there NASCAR popularity in Japan?
Oh yeah, you see it in the second movie where they have Lightning McQueen as a vacuum.
I do not know. Hold on.
They have a whole store. Oh,
because I think NASCAR is a chiefly American thing. Obviously, Formula One and
Are you talking
IndyCar.
real life or in the
Yes, yeah, I'm talking real life.
Oh, sorry. Ignore everything I just said.
Ignore everything you just said.
Yes, proud of that. That was good.
Also, random fun fact, when Cars first came out, it was shown on the Charlotte Motorway big screen, that's where they held it.
Cool.
Yeah, and when it first came out, came out in 2006, so I would have been 3, and I lived in a suburb outside of Charlotte.
That's cool.
I don't live there anymore, don't worry, that's not where our headquarters are.
I know.
We actually live on the moon now.
Daniel, are you still there? I haven't heard from you in a while, bud.
I'm just listening to this talk so I know what I need to cut out.
Oh.
Because you guys are just throwing around location names all over, and I'm just do I have to do work tonight?
Hey, all I said is that we live in the South.
No,
all I said is that we live in a society.
No, we live in a society. Whoa.
Whoa.
Jared, you've said the location name so many times, so I'm just going to go in, I'm going to edit it, I'm going to change it so all you say is the South.
No, wait, no. I've only said... I said our
That's the only
once.
thing you
wasn't
get
me this
please.
time. It wasn't
No,
me.
Jared, the joke is you only said the South, but I'm making audience members think that I'm replacing what you said with.
Yeah. We live in a society, bottom text.
I need to see if I have any more notes.
Avery, I feel wait, what were you looking up, Avery?
I don't remember. You remember the attention span thing? I don't know. What was I looking up?
I don't know, but I thought someone was looking something up, and so while we're taking this 10-second break, because it seems to happen every podcast, I'm going to get water. I will be back in 10 to 15 seconds.
See, I listen to this podcast, so I know that Nora always goes to get water, so she has to go somewhere. So guess what? I prepared and I got water before the podcast, and that's why occasionally you hear probably some sort of sound of me drinking, but hopefully not.
I think the title of number one fan is being disputed. I think we might have a new number one fan.
Nora said she should give the crown to me. She's your number 3 host. I'm just saying, I've listened to almost every single one of your podcasts. I'm still working through it because I listen to it when I edit videos or play a game, but it's mainly been because I edited a video. If you guys want to check it out, please do. No, don't.
I watched it.
Oh.
Different one, Jared.
Oh.
You need to watch this one.
Anyway, and so I just listened to it. So I every time a podcast ends, I try to make myself take a break because then I realize I've been editing for 1.5 hours or 2 hours.
Cool.
I'm sorry, that was random. Cars.
I was
let's
talking about this with Avery. She is now our number 1 fan. I passed the crown to her.
Okay, so we have all 3 hosts and the number 1 fan on the podcast.
Hello. I'm so honored.
Well, number 1 fan, do you want to help us wrap up the Cars 2 discussion with final thoughts?
I I would say that this is a well-researched, intended movie that was not well executed, and just as Nora said, I don't think it should be considered part of the Cars franchise. It is its own separate thing, and we shall not acknowledge it as so. But it's not bad if you're 8.
Yes.
Heck, the third movie doesn't acknowledge it in any way.
Nope.
My dog did not like my opinion. I'm so sorry. Apparently she's a fan.
All right. Nora, you're next.
Mine is pretty similar to Avery's. I went into it thinking I would absolutely loathe it. I ended up not loathing it, but finding it watchable and liking it. It's still at the very, very bottom of my list, but it's pretty entertaining. It has no depth whatsoever, but it's entertaining. So, Cars 2, everyone.
Okay. Jared?
I mean, you could do worse, but you could do a whole lot better, which is why I'm watching Tron Legacy this evening.
All right. For me, I guess all I'll say is I like good Pixar movies.
Same here. And next week, we're going to get to a not very good one.
Wait. Is Brave next week?
Yes.
Brave next week.
I love Brave. I'm so excited.
Yeah, Brave is going to be an interesting one.
Olivia said she'd be on this one, I think, a while back.
We will have to see what everyone's opinions on Brave is next week when we bring in the new year.
Bring in the new year, which means, it's after midnight. It is Christmas Eve.
That is
Yay!
Oh my god.
Merry Christmas to our podcast listeners.
Merry Christmas. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays. Happy Hanukkah.
Merry happy holidays to everyone.
Good tidings. Have a great Kwanzaa. Enjoy yourselves.
Happy Yule.
Merry Chrysler from your local dealership.
No, Nora.
That's somewhat applicable for this.
Enjoy your Jesus Day.
Oh, it is. Do you think this is what they say in Cars? Do you think they say Merry Chrysler? Do you think they named Jesus Chrysler?
Well, the existence of a car pope in this movie.
Yeah, they have Catholicism.
Somewhat imply that.
Oh my gosh.
Car Jesus was a thing.
Oh my gosh, Car Jesus was a thing. Oh no.
Oh Jesus.
He was a Chrysler. I bet you.
Sins.
Oh my god.
All right, let's not get blasphemous. Good night, everyone. Merry Christmas.
Good night.
Happy holidays.
Merry Christmas.